ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So, Catherine, following up on our speed round from last week about conferences, you went to the writers' conference you talked about there.
I did.
How was it?
I did.
I haven't been to one in years. Let me live vicariously through you.
It was good. I enjoyed it. The one session I went to was with a literary agent, and it was Ask Me Anything kind of a session.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. You know, they introduced him, and he just didn't have any sort of preamble. He's like, okay, what's your question? And he endeared himself to me by proclaiming that he still has a Yahoo mail address, and he still likes it.
Well, there you go. He's the guy for you. Did you tell him about your children's books and that you're seeking representation?
He doesn't do children's books, which I knew going into it, but I still thought it was an interesting. It was an interesting session, and I went to another.
Was he encouraging, like this? You know, getting published is something everybody can do.
I thought
or was
he
it
was
like you need an agent, and I'm not interested. So
I thought he was
good
a good mix of encouraging and realistic, actually.
Yeah.
And then he was in another session I went to about marketing and promoting yourself as a writer. Which I thought could certainly apply to podcasting, and it could apply
indeed.
It could apply to children's books and things. And I really liked what he said about, you know, because I brought up the question that we've talked about, you know, how do you sell a children's book if you're not already like an actor or a celebrity? Yes. And he's like, yeah, I know that is a thing, but you can still do it. And he talked about how, like, yes, everybody sort of needs like a platform, but also don't create one just for this. Like, don't go out and try to be something that you're not. You know, don't, if you don't want to be on Twitter, then don't be on Twitter. You know, like it's not, you don't have to be on all the things all the time. So that was nice. I enjoyed hearing that. And yeah, in general, I thought it was definitely worth my time, and it was all free. So it was worth my money. Well, that's nice. And then I ate 2 giant spring rolls, and halfway through the first one, I realized it was filled with romaine lettuce, and I was like, what should I do here? But I still ate the rest because I was hungry, and I did not get E. coli, so, you know, all's well that ends well.
Yeah, see, my next question was going to be, did they have good snacks? Because that's my number one conference question.
Not really. I mean, I was at a restaurant for the spring rolls, and the first session, and I think maybe a few of the others were at a coffee shop. So I was able to purchase some stuff there. But yeah, the stuff they had, they didn't have any free snacks, actually. It was all... But remember that the whole thing.
But of course, it was free.
Yeah.
Still.
Oh yeah. So it was
couldn't get Costco to, you know, give them a little sponsorship and some of those cookies.
Right. A giant thing. Well, they did have cookies at Katherine Lewis's event, which I also went to.
Yes. Tell us about that.
So she came to Wisconsin and did a bunch of things. She did put on a presentation.
We should mention that she was talking about her new book on our speed round a couple of weeks ago now. We'll have a link to it.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago.
Which is titled
The Good News About Bad Behavior. And so she did a talk for educators. And then later that evening, she did a talk for the general public. She was also on Wisconsin Public Radio while she was here. So I got to go and hear her speak at this really fancy, beautiful private school in Milwaukee. And it was great. I was really impressed with what she did and how she handled the questions, some of which were kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
They were questioning. like questioning her grasp of statistics. And,
oh dear.
It's like, this is a trained journalist and an intelligent person who has a physics degree. Like, she knows how to interpret statistics. You can, leave her alone. But anyway, she did a really nice job. So it was
good. And were the cookies good?
Yes.
Did you try them? Yes.
Yeah.
Let this be a lesson, Nicole, when you have your little book events. Have good cookies. Because people like me will be there and checking it out.
You'll be judging.
It's like, well, the book's okay, but the cookies were wonderful. This is an author who knows how to feed people at a book event. 5 stars.
Yes. Perfect. Well, I will remember that.
So should we jump in here?
Yeah. Sounds good.
We have no cookies for you today, listeners, other than the ones on your computer. We're very sorry.
Maybe someday that will become part of our...
Virtual cookies.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Katherine Haleko, and with me today are Nicole Erudix.
Hello.
And Terry Morrow.
Hello.
And today on the podcast, we're going to talk about our kids' favorite things on our speed round, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, I have to ask Terry if you are recording by candlelight today.
So far today, we are in the modern era.
Okay.
Everything's good. But we were going to record this podcast a few days ago, and as we drew near to recording time, our power went out. It was a very rainy day, so possibly that had something to do with it. Also, they're messing with the power lines all around town. We have streets dug up all over the place, so it's possible that something got nicked that way. But for about 2.5 hours, we were without electricity. And it was, whenever that happens, you think, how long could I go before this would be a problem? I can use my phone's hotspot to still get the internet for a while, but eventually everything's going to be uncharged. Yep. And then, what will we do? Mm-hmm. So normally when our power goes out, it comes right back on right away. So, that didn't happen. And then I was, going on the utility company website and checking to see if they had us on their map of outages, and then I reported it, and then a triangle popped up on the map next to my house. That's me. And then a few other triangles, and of course, then you go on Facebook and you say, power's out, and other people in your town go, me too, or not here. So it was this whole communal thing. And then it came back on, so it was a little diversion in the afternoon. But I do remember one time, a number of years ago, Hurricane Sandy. We were without power for, I think, a couple of days. It was a while. And then it was a big deal because it was all your charged devices lost power. And you had to be checking around where there was power in town so you could go charge up. Go to my kids' college, which was in a different town, and bring all my devices and plug them all in. And that got to be a little thing. And then, of course, I think I've told the story on this podcast before of when we were on vacation when Hurricane Irene, was it Irene? I know it was named after a friend of my son. Anyway, we were on vacation and there was a hurricane and the power was out for 2 days when we were on vacation. So we weren't even home, and the people in the lobby, the people who worked for the hotel were all dealing with power outages in their homes, and nobody was interested in helping the tourists. And it was like, do we go home or do we not go home? All the amusement parks were closed. So we stuck it out. We toughed it out. We would drive around until we found a restaurant or a gas station that was open and had power. But so anyway, as when this happens, it makes me think, remember when we didn't rely on electronic things for every second of our day? I mean, we always liked lights and heat and cooking and refrigeration and stuff like that. But we used to be able to do stuff like play games or do puzzles or read books by candlelight or something like that. Now I feel like not only are the basics of life requiring of power, but all our entertainment is requiring of power. And without power, we're just kind of sitting around going, is it back on yet? Is it back on? Check the lights. Flip the switch. Maybe it came back on. So I thought I'd ask you guys, Is your family able to entertain themselves without electricity at all? Or is it your greatest fear that you might have to actually all just sit together and, talk?
Well, I feel like my family could talk and have a conversation, but we all need the comfort of our phones.
Yes.
So we have to have our phones in our hands. And it's so bizarre because, I just think of like where we've come, because we used to be able, before phones, obviously. And now it's like, we were having a family dinner the other night and dinner was over and we were all sitting around the table eating. There were 6 of us or we were done eating. There were 6 of us and we were all chatting, but we all had our phone in our hands and we weren't like actually looking at it.
Yes.
It was like a comfort
object
piece. And, we were fiddling with it. And every once in a while somebody would check their phone and I was thinking, oh my God, we all have our phones in our hands at the table. Like, what is going on here? But, we just couldn't leave it alone for dinner and have conversation after dinner. So I thought, oh, that's so sad. and I actually even buy, like I have, I bought some puzzles and I bought like a game for the family at Christmas. And, I have all these intentions of trying to bring the family together without screens, but it just never happens. They still haven't been opened. They've never been used, these games and activities that we could do as a family. So yes, sadly they've taken over. They've become a priority, and we can converse, but we must have them in our hand in order to converse. So I don't know if we are capable of doing anything without our phones, at least in our hands anymore.
Yeah.
But it could be in your hand and be dead. But it would still allow you maybe that comfort to be able to talk.
Right. As long as it's there, then we are fine with it. It might cause my children some anxiety, not having it on, but I feel like we just can't. It's almost like a fidget too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes, it absolutely is.
So, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, I'm not a big, that electronics and our dependence on them are bad. I like it myself, and so I can't really be too snooty about it. But it does present the problem that if suddenly you were unable to use them, would you be able to, function? Mm-hmm. I remember another vacation where we had no Wi-Fi and we had to fall back on board games and jigsaw puzzles, and it was kind of fun. But as soon as we found a place with Wi-Fi, we were like,
let's go
scrambling. Done.
Yeah. So this has limited span of time we can stand that. Mm-hmm. But how about you, Catherine? Do you how would you guys fare in a long-term blackout?
Not real well, I'm sure. It's never happened to us here.
Really?
Yeah, recently when we had that blizzard, the April blizzard that dropped 18 inches on us, our cable line, which it controls cable TV, phone, and internet. Yeah. It sagged all that way down to the ground, but it did not. But it still worked. Everything still worked. So that was nice. So we didn't have to find out how we would do if we had power, but no Wi-Fi or TV.
Yeah.
We have a lot of board games, and we do play them sometimes. Not super often, but we do. And, we would just have to make do with that kind of thing. And because sometimes it's hard because it's dark,
Yes, that's
makes
true.
it harder to read or to play games if you can't see what you're doing.
Right.
And then what do? Do you just all sit there and stare into space?
I don't know. Just are like, I guess I'm going to go to bed because I have nothing to do right now.
Tell stories.
Right, because you can't be outside because there's some sort of weather event happening. And,
Yeah.
The one nice thing about being without power during the hurricane was that it forced us to stop watching the Weather Channel, which, basically gives you the same news over and over and over again with increasing amounts of hysteria, even though really there is no news.
Right.
It's always fun watching the poor schlub who drew the short straw and has to be standing out at the end of the pier someplace, about to be blown into the ocean.
Holding on for dear
Yup, it's a hurricane! Pretty bad down here.
Right. Yeah.
But it was probably healthy to pull the plug on that for a little while.
Yeah, when we had when there was that big one in the Northeast in 2003, that big blackout, which I don't know how long it lasted, like a day or something. We actually weren't home. We were visiting my parents in Ohio, and it didn't reach to where they were. So, but I remember that my friend who lived near us and had a daughter the same age as mine, and we met them through the child care center. And they were there, and she was at work in the city, and before the blackout happened, the caregivers had called her and said, we can't figure out what's going on, but she's just crying. She's like, she's unhappy and like she's not hurt. And, we just don't know what's going on, but, she's crying. And so my friend said, okay, I'm just going to come get her. I'm just going to leave work. And so she got home before the blackout happened. Like she wouldn't have maybe made it, if she had to stay in the city. So
Her
it was
kid
like
knew somehow.
I know she had like this intuition that she
it's
needed
like the
to.
way birds and animals can sense upcoming disasters,
right,
and small children.
So that was impressive. And she lived in a high-rise apartment building. I guess she probably had to climb up the stairs with that.
Oh my god,
that would freak
toddler.
me out. One of many good reasons not to live in a high-rise apartment building.
But it did have beautiful views of Manhattan.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but if you're in an elevator, you can't. Stuck in an elevator for a day and a half, you can't really see them.
That is true. Well, hopefully they have a generator for those. Those occasions. So
I guess it could always be worse.
It would definitely be a struggle for us. And then, we have 2 refrigerators and a chest freezer. So we'd be real upset.
But don't you have your dried or cured meat that you can...
There you go.
You don't have to worry about refrigerating.
You should see this. I might have to take a picture of the setup for the dried meat because my husband put up a plastic shower curtain, to enclose this.
It's like Dexter.
I know. It looks like he's doing something real shady in there. It's just this little tiny space that he enclosed with a shower curtain.
Oh dear.
No.
And I didn't even realize he did it. And then I walked into that room. I was like, what is happening?
Suddenly you're in a horror movie.
Right. And he uses humidifiers and dehumidifiers and things to create the right environment for his needs. So
I don't know, Catherine.
That
would
be a
for you. Have you looked into those freezers there?
Have you checked your knife drawer to make sure none of them are missing?
I've seen this movie before.
Right.
It doesn't end well.
No.
Oh dear. But
Wow.
yeah, when the power went out here last week, we had a crock pot full of dinner cooking, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? It's not, obviously it's turned off now since the power's out.
Right.
How long can it sit here without, it was ground beef. I'm like, how long can it sit here and still be okay to eat? If I leave the lid on, does it stay warm? Because that's the big thing that your mother always told you, right? Don't open the refrigerator, everything will stay cold.
Yeah, right.
So if I leave the top on the crock pot, does it stay hot? I don't know. But Mike called my husband. He said, oh, it's fine, because he's the cook. And he says, oh, yeah, it's mostly cooked. It's on for way longer than it needs to be. I'm like, okay, but I'm leaving the lid on.
I do think leaving the lid on was wise.
I think
Yes.
yeah,
But,
you're fine for a few hours.
that's like problems of the modern age.
Oh, yes.
Well, I guess it could happen with your oven, too, if something was half cooked or half baked, although our oven just turns itself off from time to time.
Right, regardless
Even when
of
there is power.
outage.
Do you guys know how to, like, work your circuit breakers? Do you ever check your circuit breakers when there's a power outage? I always feel like I'm supposed to do that, but I don't really know what I'm looking at. And
I mean, I know how to turn them on and off.
Mhm.
Like I know what to look for, but that's all you do with circuit breakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only do it if a fuse blows.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to change a fuse or anything, but
Yeah, I went to look at it and I thought to myself, is this even still a thing? Is this like outmoded technology that we don't really use these anymore? It's just here as a relic and I'm worrying about it. So this is when you go outside and you look for a neighbor outside their house and you go, do you have power? And if they say no, then it's like, oh, great. I don't have to worry about it now. It's not me.
Okay. You gave it due diligence.
Yes,
And you left.
absolutely. Well, my daughter had to go to work and her car was in the garage, so we had to pull the thing to disable the garage door opener. Pioneer times, y'all.
Right,
we had to
and you had to
open the
manually
garage
lift that door.
by ourselves. It's like being on Little House on the Prairie.
I know.
So, all civilization falls away.
Tough times.
Tough times.
Tough times, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yes, speaking of tough times.
Yes. As we were.
As we were.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I want to hear how this segue goes.
well, like keeping one another occupied and
Yes.
being entertained would involve some sort of knowledge of what your family
Yes,
enjoys
she
and
nails
what
it.
they like to do.
Uh-huh.
Because, for example, if your kids love doing puzzles,
Yes.
that could be a way to entice them into doing puzzles and not having a phone in their hand.
Uh-huh.
But you'd have to, you'd have to know that. And that's the thing with the technology now is I feel like I don't see my kids doing as many activities as they
Do you know
used
their
to.
favorite
So
apps?
I just don't even really, I just don't even really know what they like anymore. I just,
Yeah.
So that's kind of our next topic because the only thing I know that they like for sure is their phone. And anything past that, I'm kind of left wondering, buying gifts for them is getting increasingly harder.
Yeah.
I don't, it's harder to pick up things that they need at the store I think that they need at the store because
Mhm.
I just have no clue. Maybe it's because they're older. Maybe it's because, there's just, it just makes us less in tune, I think, to some extent.
Yeah.
So that's my segue, is that...
Nicely done.
Do you know what your kids' favorite things are, what they would enjoy doing if they did not have their phone in their hand? What do you know their favorite food? And this is coming from a blog post, or a post, sorry, not a blog post, a Design Mom called Do You Know Your Child's Favorite Things? And, she was mentioning chocolate bars, primarily songs, colors, movies, all those little bits and pieces. Would you know what your kids' favorite items are if you were asked? I don't know. I don't think I do.
Do you know your kid's favorite color?
I don't think I do.
No.
I mean, recently my son, we kind of rearranged his room and because we finally pulled up the carpet that was in there. And several years ago, so his room started out when he was first born, it was yellow because it was like a playroom before he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when he was expected, we didn't know if he was a boy or girl, so we just left it yellow.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, we painted it this really nice, like warm khaki color.
Uh-huh.
And he never liked it. And so then when we painted it again a few years later, he wanted blue. And it's like Tiffany blue. I mean, it is.
Oh, wow.
It is not subtle. But when we rearranged and took out the carpet, everything, he didn't want to change it. He liked it the way it is. But the new rug that we got for in there and the bedding is gray. And that's what he wanted.
So, yeah, it's hard to follow along. I mean, I think it does change too. So,
well, yeah. My daughter's favorite color was always yellow, but now sometimes it's red. And it's like whenever I try to guess, it's something else. And I don't even know if my son has a favorite color. I don't think he's ever expressed a preference. He's one of those that you'll say, what's your favorite color? Is it blue? I'll go, yeah.
right.
Well, is it green? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. And he's like, he'll just say yes to whatever to end the conversation.
Right.
Because he really does not care.
His favorite
Whatever
color
you want.
is, let's not talk about this right now.
Exactly. But maybe he has one and just hasn't told me. I don't know. He's not real expressive on that kind of thing. And even like, candy. Every Valentine's Day, my husband gets candy for my daughter and I, and he's always asking me, what is her favorite candy? And I will tell him something with some confidence, and then she will, say thank you, and it just sits someplace for a while until I eat it.
Right, I was just going to say. Until you
I gotta
take
just
care
start
of that.
telling him things I like, because,
Yeah.
And my son, I was going to get him, he always liked Skittles, so I was going to get him Skittles for Valentine's Day, and he was with me, and he said, no, I'm going to pick it out. He picked something out, I got it, I gave it to him with great confidence. It's still sitting on the living room table from February. So, I guess maybe candy is just not his thing, or her thing either, really that much. I feel completely at sea, although sometimes I'm not even sure what my favorite things are anymore. It's so much pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I would not know what my daughter's favorite candy is. I just would have no clue.
Huh.
I mean, are we talking chocolate or candy? Because
Yeah.
here in America, they're the same thing, aren't they?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like a
so-
subset.
It's a subset, yes.
A subset of candy or chocolate. I don't know. What?
See, the concept of having a kind of candy that you did not wish to eat
Right.
is foreign to me. I can't
Yeah,
think of a
that's
piece
true.
of candy I wouldn't go for, even if I
Sour
didn't like
Patch
it. I would
Kids?
just see it there.
Oh,
I would
black
eat them.
licorice?
I have, and I would again.
Ooh.
Because it goes to waste, It's
Oh.
perfectly good candy, even if it's not my personal favorite, I'll throw my body on that
Well,
candy
black
to...
licorice.
to
Candy.
protect everyone
It's
else.
delicious.
When
Yeah.
recently was my son's birthday, and another parent did ask me what is his favorite candy, because that is the middle school gift, is
Oh,
candy
right.
and a gift card.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they all do. So
I
Yeah.
gotta make that my
Same here.
gift of choice.
right.
Yes, get me that gift card, but also here's a list.
candy. But I
Good chocolate.
I said any and all was my answer to her when she said, "What kind of candy does he like?" Because he's like you, Terry. He'll eat pretty much anything.
The only reasonable way to be.
Yes.
Right. I don't even know what my favorite candy is anymore. Never mind my kids.
Yeah. I always feel bad when my kids have a birthday and people ask what they want, because it's like, well, I don't know.
It's so
And that seems completely
hard.
lame. It's just, my daughter will take gift cards from a number of different places happily. For a long time, we could get both of them iTunes cards, but now my son doesn't really use that, and my daughter would rather have Macy's or whatever. So she's not that hard, but with him, I have like a closet. In my closet, I have a little stash of all the gift cards and money he's gotten over the past several years for birthdays and holidays, and he's got quite the sum in there just because he's not that interested in stuff. And
my daughter too. She's got a whole pile of them.
And I'm going to start spending them. At some point, it's like, there's an expiration date on the card. I'm just going to move that up by a year and say, if you haven't spent this by this date, it belongs to me.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know he has them. I could totally spend them if I were
And
that sort of person.
I've actually
I
taken
maybe.
Is there a way online you
spending
can
them.
exchange them, like just with other people who have
That's
different
true.
ones that you might want?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I had a friend who put on Facebook, I have an iTunes card that I'm never going to use. Does anybody want it? And I scored it and I spent it. It was great.
Wow.
Actually, I think I gave it to my daughter for doing something
That's
for
a
me,
good
but
idea.
still. Anyway, yeah, it's hard. And you feel like, how do I not know my child or young person well enough to be able to say what they would enjoy as a gift? But it was such pressure this year. It was like, don't ask me. I don't know.
I know.
Incredibly hard. Yeah. I don't know. I think I've also taken to just getting more experiences as opposed to things like concert tickets, and because I know that they enjoy that stuff.
That's true. That's a cool thing.
So I'll get like Ticketmaster gift card or
interesting
movie passes or something, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know, and like I said, I don't even know if they know, right?
See,
like what.
Apparently, what we need to do is
preferences.
instigate their friends to put like on Instagram one of these surveys. What is your favorite kind of candy? And then they'll answer. They'd answer if it was on social media, right?
Yes.
They'd come up with something. What's your favorite color? We have to put something up so that our kids would answer those things. And then
We do like an online poll. Or something.
but it can't be from us because they wouldn't care if it was from us.
Oh, you know what? It could be like an Instagram story where we say like, you know, do you like such and such? Yes or no?
Yes.
And
Yep, there's polls. And there's also those ones that are like a grid of questions, and then you put like a little tiny picture or something to answer each thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how they get created and how you fill that in, but that's something that my daughter, I'm sure, would know how to do.
Oh, yeah.
So see, you tell her she should put up a poll like that. And then you say, well, let's see if it works. Why don't you take it?
Yeah.
And then you know.
Exactly.
And then, you know.
We have to use modern technology.
Yes.
If only the GPS feature would also slyly inquire as to what they would like for a gift. Favorite color.
Just look back at historic data on what stores
There you go.
Yes, that's right. Yes. If you can get past their passwords.
Yes. No.
To find out.
Yep.
Which we'll be talking about later.
Well, I'm glad to know you guys don't know these things either, because I was feeling pretty bad about myself as a parent. So,
no,
when your kids were littler, did you know? Is it only since they've been older, or has it always been kind of inscrutable?
I think I knew more when they were littler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And there was a time when you could kind of tell them what their favorite was, you know, and they would go along.
I love Paw Patrol. Oh, yeah, I do. My 13-year-old still likes Paw Patrol. So.
Aw.
See, we missed that whole Paw Patrol.
Well, so did he, but somehow he found out about it. And it was pretty cute.
Aw.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely knew. Well, I did know a lot more I kind of was much more in tune. I mean, with what they were doing when they were younger and what they were liking when they were younger.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, and also for things like, because this was mentioned in the Design Mom post, like if you had to order them something from a menu or whatever, like, would you know? And I think when they were littler, you probably knew better. And also you just didn't care. Like if they liked it or not. Like, here's what we're eating.
They maybe didn't care so much either.
Right. And they probably didn't either. So yeah, I think it's harder now.
Depending on the kind of place, I could probably make a pretty good guess.
Yeah, I think I could.
Yeah. Food. Not for my son. My son hasn't lived with us for 3 years. Right. So even though we see him once every couple of weeks and we talk to him almost every day, I really don't know what he's into now. I know that his girlfriend has got, is forcing him to eat more vegetables, but I don't know if he actually likes them.
Oh my gosh. That is love.
As him as an adult, I'm clueless in terms of food.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just age, right?
Yeah, well, my kids still live with me, so I've had ample opportunity to see what they order off a menu. So they're cheeseburgers, chicken fingers, or enormous, disgusting hamburgers of some sort. Mm-hmm. I know what to order for my daughter and son, respectively.
And see, my son surprised us. We said, when it was his birthday, we said, we'll go out to dinner. Where would you like to go? And he picked Red Robin. And
oh, that's where we just went for my daughter's birthday.
And I was just surprised, it was...
Yeah. Is that not like a usual...
I hadn't been there in a really long time, so I don't know what made him pick that. And then he ordered clam chowder or something. He didn't even...
What?
Yeah, he didn't even order a burger, but...
You gotta order the burger.
That's funny.
I had a delicious cheeseburger there.
Yeah, it was
Would recommend. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if our listeners know their kids any better than we do right now.
Maybe don't tell us if you do.
Don't tell us.
Or tell us your secret,
Yeah.
one or the other. How did you set up a poll to find out what
Right.
your kids like?
Exactly.
Clue us in.
An online poll. Yeah, so I think we can pretty much conclude that the three of us, at least, are not really in the know.
We're not that confident, I would say.
Yeah.
Nope.
But we are confident that you can hear New Speed Round every Wednesday through Friday. Hi, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Parenting Roundabout. We're not one of those podcasts that's trying to sell you websites or mattresses or meal kits. I mean, we totally would, but no one's asked us yet.
There is, however, something you can do that costs you nothing but will put a little change in our pockets. Listen to our podcast on the Radio Public app. Download the app to your iPhone or Android device and listen to Parenting Roundabout there, and we'll get paid for each listen. Plus a little more if you listen a lot.
We think you'll enjoy listening to all your podcasts on this app, but if you could at least listen to Parenting Roundabout there, we'd be very grateful. Now, back to the episode.
Now we bring you some of the things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you.
Nicole, what do you have?
Oh my goodness, I just watched the first episode of Handmaid's Tale,
Ooh.
season 2, and I was already bawling my eyes out like 1 minute into it. It is so good, and I just know that the rest of the season will be just as great as the first season. So
Hard for me to imagine
Check it
something
out.
I would less like watching than that.
really, oh, it's great.
And this is now like, it's beyond the book. They've come,
Yes.
they're now coming up with their own
Yeah.
stories. Okay.
I believe so. Yes, yeah, because the first season was it followed the storyline of the book, but now it's moving beyond that, and seems like it's quite promising that it'll be an interesting storyline for season 2. And yeah, like I said, it was already crying like a minute into it, and so I'm shouting out The Handmaid's Tale season 2 on Hulu.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Terry?
I like my entertainment a little more happy and entertaining. So what I have to share with you today is the Facebook page of my daughter's my daughter's former trombone teacher, who also does circus stuff and has videos of herself hanging upside down playing the trombone. So
Whoa.
when you've watched your dystopian nightmare TV and you just need to cleanse your palate, you can go watch Julie, the Flying Trombonist, playing as she hangs from the ceiling.
I love it.
All sorts of entertainment available to you today.
That's
Funny.
YouTube for you.
How about you, Catherine?
I have been playing the trivia game HQ. Do you guys know about HQ?
Oh, no, I do not.
So
No.
it is a live trivia game. It's usually
Right.
twice a day. Sometimes on the weekends there's only one, or the schedule changes a little bit. But so they ask 12 questions, and you have 10 seconds to answer each one. And, as soon as you get one wrong, you're out. So I've gotten as far as getting 11 right and not 12. So I have never actually won it. And there's actual money that you win, but it's
Wow.
like usually the pot is $5,000 and like 100 people or more win it, or 1,000 people win it. So,
Yeah.
you only get a couple dollars. But I've seen people get like $1,000, because sometimes they have bigger pots.
Wow. I'm on
Yeah.
there right now.
Well, if you join, you have to use my username, which is Catherine with a C,
So that I will get an extra life. And that way, if I miss a question, I can still carry on.
So is it just Catherine? That's your
No,
username?
it's Catherine with a C. Like,
Oh, Catherine with,
Yes.
actually, literally Catherine with a C.
so if anybody else out there decides they want to join, you can use that username, and then I would get an extra life.
We've lost Nicole now for the rest of the podcast.
Well, no, because there's no game
Okay,
going on right
bye.
now, so you don't have to worry.
Well, how do you know when there's a game?
It'll tell you that, whenever the next one is, it'll be posted on their main page.
This sounds suspicious.
Why?
You actually play trivia and you make money?
Well, like I said, I've been
So
playing
you
it for
can't,
like 3 weeks and I haven't won it yet. So.
You don't have to pay to play, do you?
So, but wait, oh, sorry, hang on, he's talking. So you have to wait, and you can't just sign on and join in? Like,
right.
You have to wait for it to
they
start?
only do it at certain times.
So, like, I remember when I first
okay.
downloaded it, and then I missed, like, the next 3 because I was somewhere where I couldn't play at all those times. So, yeah,
Right.
sometimes you miss it.
So you just have to be okay with it.
Okay.
I am feverishly doing Sandbox while you guys talk about this, and it is there all
Yes,
the time.
You can always count on
Always available to me.
Yeah.
Doing a cactus, I think. Well, now to move on from things that we've seen and are recommending to things that we have personally done. For our final segment, we're going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Nicole, what do you have this week?
Well, I'm not going to talk about my book.
What?
I'm not going to talk about my book, Inclusion in Action, which is available now.
At brookspublishing.com and on Amazon. Although I haven't written anything significant lately, but you can always, I'm just going to direct listeners to my Inclusive Class Facebook page. There's a lot going on over there these days, and come check it out because I'm posting, quotes and strategies and tips and odds and ends, and of course pictures of my book, which is popping up all over the country. So yeah. Go check it out, The Inclusive Class on Facebook.
Excellent. How about you, Catherine?
I have nothing new to mention right now, so I'll just remind you to follow me and the podcast on Instagram. So I am C. Haleko, and the podcast is PR Podcast.
All right. And I will have a post up by the time this drops about a recent interesting experience I had while at Barnes & Noble when a car drove through the front window. So I'm going to have a little post up on my blog, Too Old for Cool, about how we deal with minor disasters in this modern age.
Talk about them on Facebook.
There you go. Yes, you do. And Twitter. If you're smart. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on Radio Public or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts.
You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Erdix, Catherine is at C. Haleko, and Terry is at Momitude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat, and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too.
Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on everything we've mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin at johnjmorin.com for providing our in and out music. And I wish everyone a great week.